Hey everybody, Mr. Hayes here. We're going to be talking through the first part of probability. We're going to talk about me making free throws for that. So I've already got the notes here for you. Take a look at the first three. Go ahead and answer those. In your own words, what does it mean to be an 80% free throw shooter? And what do you think? Do you think I'm going to shoot? If I made 100 shots, how many do you think I would make? And is that guaranteed? And do you think I'm going to have a streak where I have 10 in a row? Now, I've jotted down a couple of ideas here. Obviously, the first things I'm going to have here first are going to be, first thing I'm going to have here is that obviously I'm going to make about 80 shots. Is it guaranteed? No. Probably know that from flipping a coin. If you flip it 4 times, you're not guaranteed to get 2 heads and 2 tails. And I've got about, the question is, I'm going to make 10 in a row? I said maybe because you all know you get on streaks, and 80%, you just have to make 2 other ones to make it work. So what I want you to do here is you're going to, in a second, don't do it now, you're going to go to statsmedic.applets, and you're going to go down underneath the law of large numbers. And what that's going to look like is this. I'm going to show you here in a second. But what's going to end up happening is that you're going to make a few shots, and you're going to do them one by one for the first 50. And so let's say, for example, I make the first shot, so now I'm shooting 100%. And then I make the second shot. So now I'm shooting 100% again. And then I miss the third shot. So now I'm down to 67%. And I'm going to continue to do that until I hit, add 5 more and you get 10, 15, etc. And then once you get down to the end, you'll see here, you're going to scroll down until you can get to the law of large numbers. And you can see, now this is another stats teacher named Mrs. Gallus, but you're going to go through and you're going to say, shoot it. So there, I made the first, she made the first one, then the second, and you can see the graphs being built over there. So take a second, and you're going to continue to do that. So, I've got up through 5, and then I'm going to go to 10, 6, 7, 8, 9. She's on fire. And you're going to keep doing that up through 50. And then once you get to 50, there's a button further down here that will allow you to take 50 shots at one shot, okay? Once you do that, come on back. So I, down over here, put a set of data that I had. So go ahead and write down what you noticed, and then go through down and see if I made it, and fill out, I guess, 6, 7, and 8. So what do you notice about the graph? First of all, I'm going to say short term, it's very unpredictable. Because notice I'm jumping, I had 0, then 50, then 60, I'm bouncing all over the place there. But as we got further and further on, in the long term, I got predictable. So this is just basically going to say the same thing I have there. So lots of variability early on. You're bouncing around because you have an 80% chance of making it. But the further you go, the closer and closer to 80% you're going to hit. Okay, now, did I make exactly 80% of my shots? That's going to vary. Some of you might have actually had that. No, every end of sample is going to end up being different. What you got and what your person next to you got and what I got is going to be totally different. Now, like it looks like here, I was just short of like maybe it's 79. And what that's called is sampling variability. Things are going to change, but here's the great thing. No matter what happens, if the 80% free throw shooter is true, even though your data and my data may look differently, and the variability is going to be different in each of the samples, we're going to still get to the same conclusion, which is kind of the point of sampling. Now, in terms of here, in the 100 shots, did Mr. Hayes have a streak of 10 or more in a row? I had a bunch of them, actually. Start looking right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then that just keeps going. In fact, I shot from here to here. I had a streak of about 25 in a row that I made. Mr. Hayes, you're an 80% free throw shooter. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't go in streaks. Because remember, 80% is the long-term probability. If I'm looking at small different sections, you can have runs where you're going to get everything there. And in fact, over here, I think I've got another one right there. So it will happen. You just have to, look for those. And then last but not least, based on the results of the applet, what does the probability of 80% mean? So notice we didn't hit 80% right away. In fact, I went way up there to what? What was my highest percentage? I was above 90% there for a little bit. But what it means is that after many, many free throws, the percent of shots made will approach 80%. We're not saying for sure we're going to get 80%, but we're basically, actually you'll do a bunch of this in calculus where you're going to try to figure out what's the limit of something, on what side are you doing it, where are you going in the long term. Think asymptotes back in algebra 2, okay? This is called a long run relative frequency. Part 2, where we kind of formalize this, will come next. I'll link to that below and also put a link, I don't know, maybe over here. Like, subscribe, comment. We'll see you soon.